In a world of star wide receiver cores, in a world of A.J. Browns and Devontae Smiths, the Broncos wide receiver room is the antithesis to what the NFL seems to be doing at the receiver room, not only with how it's constructed, but I also think the types of guys that they've brought into the wide receiver room. And Courtland Sutton is the epitome of that when you're comparing him and how he has handled his career so far in direct contrast to A.J. Brown right now, guys. I'm going to get into it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe, all that. But here's the deal. The Philadelphia Eagles just won their 9th straight game. That's tied for a franchise record. Saquon Barkley, one of A.J. Brown's teammates and Devontae Smith's teammates, is having an all-time year, not just a career year, but he could very well break Eric Dickerson's rushing record. Incredible stuff. You're winning like crazy. You're putting up a bunch of points, right? And after you tie this franchise record for a 9th straight win, you think the locker room should be good or full of great, good vibes. Everybody's happy for each other, but no. In this case, you got your star wide receivers upset that they're not getting the ball enough. Jalen Hurts is throwing for like 130 yards a game, and, it's just not good enough. And so now the Eagles are on track, I think, to get their 10th straight win this week. And what does Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles have to deal with? They have to deal with dysfunction. They have to deal with guys talking about each other in the media that's causing up a whole bunch of drama. It's distracting. It's ridiculous. And as AJ Hawks said, man, why do they have to do so much winning around, right? He said something like that. It is the pure antithesis to what is going on with the Denver Broncos and Courtland Sutton. And I'd like to see Courtland Sutton extended. I would like to see him here for the next few years in Denver, and I'll get into why here in just a moment. But I didn't think that Courtland Sutton was a Sean Payton guy. But the more we're seeing him settle in this offense, his leadership, it's fantastic. And I don't think it's brought or it's shown any better than what he did against the New Orleans Saints, where we won in a 33-10 blowout earlier this year, right? That's the opportunity for Courtland Sutton to be like, hey, I'm upset, to cause a scene, right? That's what some of these stars, or some people, I guess, would call them divas, the great diva wide receiver. This is when they speak up. They make things about themselves. They kill the vibes of winning football teams. And that could have been a downward spiral for us. But Courtland Sutton, he's not like that. He's all about the team, and he's incredibly talented. And now you're seeing him have what could be his career year right now, guys. He has, 104 targets for 846 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's been incredible. He's been a guy that's all about the team. He doesn't make much of a scene at all. If anything, he's a little too quiet. That's what Bo Nix has said. Hey, if I haven't targeted you, you got to let me know. It's my job to get you the football. And when we look at his career stats here, he could break his career yardage record with 1,112 yards receiving. Right now, he's less than 300 away from that with 4 games remaining. Will he reach 10 touchdowns? I don't know. But he's been one of these guys built in the same mold as Rod Smith, of Ed McCaffrey, of Demaryius Thomas, our lunch pail, blue collar, just hard work, a little soft-spoken, number 1 wide receiver on our team. And yes, I do think we go after a true alpha in the room this offseason. But I think Courtland Sutton's leadership has been very impressive. And I think our young guys are going to take notice of that. He's somebody that I think is, setting the tone in the receiver room. And I think a lot of the guys that we got right now, Devon Vele, we got Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, maybe, in a different team environment, who knows how all those guys speak and handle themselves if they're not getting the ball as much as they like to see, But I think Courtland Sutton has helped kind of keep this offense in line a little bit. He's kept the receiver still working really hard. It all trickles down from the top. He helps set the tone. And when this offense has been tough to watch, especially earlier in the year, Courtland Sutton's leadership, not blowing anything out of proportion. If he's got issues, it's handled in-house behind closed doors with the staff and teammates with the offense, right? Something that A.J. Brown and a handful of wide receivers could, benefit from modeling how they handle adversity and frustration, from Courtland Sutton, right? So, yeah, he's a breath of fresh air. He's the antithesis to A.J. Brown. Now, would I kill to have an A.J. Brown on this team? You're absolutely right, but I think we get him. And again, when you look at how Denver has done things with their wide receiver core in the past, you see we usually just kind of have a blue collar alpha wide receiver, not one of these star diva wide receivers. We just haven't, as opposed to the Dallas Cowboys, right? We can compare directly with them. It's a total contrast. Now, maybe Emmanuel Sanders a little bit, but he wasn't like Antonio Brown or anything like that. No. Now, what does this mean for our wide receiver room? Well, I think he's playing some of the best football of his life. I think he's right in the middle of his prime, and he comes at an affordable number, and I think cost in the future as well. So when we look at right now his cap situation, it's kind of interesting. So he was on a lower cap number this year, right? At just under $8 million. But you can see here his base salary is higher this next year at $13.5 million. 6.2 of that is guaranteed at signing, or prorated signing bonus, rather. Per game roster bonus, all that. So his cap number right now is 7.3% of the cap. The cap's going to go up as well. But we have 3 void years after this. And I think that you would be able to spread out this cap hit a little bit more evenly. Let's say maybe we sign him to a 2-year extension, where maybe you're able to even that out a little bit. But he's a guy that has been very, very productive in a world where you see wide receivers now making 3 times the amount of money almost that he makes, where if we're able to keep him for around this value, I think it does make a lot of sense for a really good number 2. And then you can go ahead and bring in somebody like T. Higgins or whoever you want to draft somebody high. But I do think now that I'm looking back at this, there are a lot of Sean Payton's wide receiver groups. They're built around a lot of guys like Courtland Sutton. Now, he still had Michael Thomas as well, right? So, again, we could go after a star wide receiver that might have some diva tendencies. I'm okay with that. But I think Courtland Sutton's leadership has been underrated this year. I think he's one of the reasons why we're playing better football this year. And yes, he doesn't have the most sure hands. He's had some drops, like we saw last game against the Browns. But then he got that out of his system early. He comes back and makes big plays later on. He's a true team player. And the Denver Broncos, our Denver Broncos guys are on track right now to make the playoffs for the first time since 2015. And thank God we're not having any sort of distractions in the media about how we're winning football games. And I think that's so important. So Courtland Sutton, you want to see him stick around a little bit longer? Regardless, let me know in the comments. Smash that like and subscribe. I'll be back with more Broncos content later on, guys. Thank you so much. Go Broncos.